Hey guys, Ken with Perfectus Group. Today I'm going to talk to you about the 2024 Red Dot Buyer's Guide, so you know exactly what you need to know before going out and buy your next Red Dot. Okay, so why is this important? Well, number one, the vast majority of us are going to be carrying or installing a red dot on our pistol to carry every single day for protection. I don't know anything else on this planet that would be a little bit more important than that. So that's why this buyer's guide is going to be important, because we're buying this equipment and we're literally trusting our life to it, just like the pistol. The other thing is that not only are we trusting our life to it, but this type of equipment is expensive. When I say expensive, starting at about the $200 mark, there are some that are cheaper and go all the way up towards and close to $1,000. So when you're talking about an optic that could cost between $2,000 and $1,000, and then installing that on a firearm that can also cost $3,000 to $1,000, this can be a very expensive endeavor, and it's very, very important that we know a little bit about what we're talking about when we're purchasing this. Let's get started. Okay, so I felt like a really good place to start was to discuss the reasons why you should be considering a red dot from the get-go. Because if you're not even interested in a red dot, learning anything else about it really doesn't make a difference. So let's start with some pros and cons. Sorry about that, I got stuff flying around. But anyway, let's start with the pros and cons. And I like to start with one of the most important pros that I've found in my experience, not only shooting, but also teaching thousands of students on red dots. And that's, we're seeing about an average of a 25% increase in accuracy. Now, I know when you hear that, you're probably like, what? How in the hell does that happen? Let me explain. When we're shooting a red dot and we're comparing that to shooting a pistol with iron sights, shooting a red dot is just plain easier to do. In fact, there's about half of the steps required to shoot a red dot when you compare it to an iron sight. And here's how it works. When you're thinking about an iron sight, you've got two sights, your rear sight and your front sight, and you're trying to align them with themselves. You're trying to put that front sight right in that notch of the rear sight. But then after you've aligned them with themselves, then you have to take those aligned sights and align it with the target. That's a lot of steps. And if it's a self-defense situation, you're trying to do that under duress. With a red dot, you can stay target focused, and you simply put your red dot on top of where you're aiming and press the trigger. So that is one of the leading contributors that I've found that have contributed to most users putting a red dot on their pistol and obviously being trained. They see about an average of a 25% increase in their accuracy. The other thing too is that with a red dot, you can get very, very precise. Versus with iron sights, you can be so far from the target where the iron sights themselves are covering up the desired target within your target that you're trying to aim for. So not only, can the red dot help you just because it requires less work to be accurate, but also too, because we can make that dot pretty small and therefore giving us the ability to be that much more accurate. The next benefit that I found with the red dot is it increases the effective range of your pistol. Now, what does that mean when I'm talking about the effective range? What I'm talking about is when you're talking about a typical self-defense pistol with iron sights, most of the time, most people are going to be able to shoot very accurate rounds at around the 3 to 15 yard mark. And that's pretty much across the board where you're going to see the accuracy with a pistol. And a lot of that is because it requires a little bit of work to align these sights with themselves and then take the aligned sights and align with the target. Also, what happens is as you increase the distance from your target, these iron sights will start to cover up portions of the target, especially the portion that you're probably aiming at. Versus with a red dot, you can go from that iron sight of effective range of about 3 to 15 yards to 25 to about 50 yards fairly easily with a decent amount of practice. We've gone out to 200 and 300 yards with pistols, and that's 9mm with a red dot. The biggest reason, or two reasons mainly, why you're able to shoot accurately at greater distances. One, it just takes less work to use a red dot and be accurate when compared to iron sights. And then the other thing is the actual size of the dot. On the side of most red dots, or I should say on most red dots, you're gonna have the ability to adjust the brightness. What usually happens is the brighter you go, the bigger the dot kind of gets, and the lower in the brightness setting you go, the smaller the dot. So what I would do is I would lower the brightness setting so that dot gets a little bit smaller, and it will allow me to see more of my available target at a much greater distance. The next benefit that I found is I no longer have to shift my focal plane from the pistol to the target and then back to the pistol. What I mean by that is this: when you have iron sights on your firearm, you're gonna have to align those iron sights with themselves while simultaneously aligning those aligned sights with the target. Here's something I wanna throw in there. Have you ever heard of an armed professional, law enforcement officer, or anybody that had to use a firearm in self-defense? One of the common things that you'll hear them say regarding what they saw and what they remember about the shooting is that they were heavily target focused. In fact, interviewing victims back in my law enforcement days, while interviewing people, they would say, yes, I just remember seeing this humongous firearm. And in their mind, the firearm was this big because that was what they were hyper focused on. What we learned over time of interviewing people over and over again, whether armed professional or regular person, is that in a situation when your life is on the line, you're going to focus on the thing that's going to cause you the greatest amount of harm. And in those instances, it's more than likely going to be a firearm. What we also heard was that, or what we also found is that the majority of the people that had to take a self-defense shot with their firearm never saw their iron sights. They never saw the front sight. They were never front sight focused. They didn't see the rear sight or anything like that. They were focused on the target. So what that told us is that in a fight or flight situation, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that term before. In a fight or flight situation, you're more likely gonna focus on the bad guy. You're gonna focus on the target. You're gonna focus on the knife. You're gonna focus on the gun. And that's the reasoning why I really love the red dot, because the red dot does not require me to focus on anything back here at the firearm. In fact, I need to be focused on the target because with a red dot, all I'm doing is placing the red dot right on top of where I'm looking on the target. This is a very, very huge benefit when it comes to considering buying a red dot, or if you're actively transitioning, this is a very, very important thing. All right, the next benefit of switching to a red dot is now you can leave both your damn eyes open. And that's so awesome. I know a bunch of you know exactly what I'm talking about. We've been on that struggle bus shooting with irons, and we're doing this. And I know exactly where you're coming from. In fact, when I first started shooting, that was exactly how I was able to shoot accurately. Shooting with iron sights is much easier to shoot iron sights with just one eye. When it comes to red dots, because I'm not having to focus on anything back here with the firearm, I'm able to now focus on what the body wants to focus on anyway, and that's the target or the bad guy. Because of that, and because I'm putting the red dot directly over where I'm looking, I can leave both of my eyes open. So obviously, we understand a little bit of a benefit. Yeah, we got both of our eyes open versus just having one. But what about the technical benefits, like, you know, benefits that are actually lend itself to me staying alive? When we have both of our eyes open, we're taking advantage of our full 210 degrees of field of view. Would you rather have both your eyes open when your life is on the line, or just one? Let's move on. The next benefit, it actually ties into the last benefit, and that's, the benefit of being able to leave both of our eyes open. But the other thing that comes along with having both of your eyes open is having the ability to have more situational or total awareness. We're more than likely to be in a violent encounter at our home, your place of work, your favorite restaurant you visit every week, the favorite grocery store you go to, and your gas station. At every one of those places, or in every one of those scenarios, you're more than likely gonna have to negotiate furniture, vehicles, people, everything, curbs, grass, asphalt, everything. And you're going to want to have total situational awareness. We're responsible for every round that comes out of this gun, so that in and of itself requires us to be aware of where everyone is at all times during a situation where bullets are flying and people are actively panicking. So having that situational or total awareness is a big deal. Say it happens in your home and you're having to confront someone that's actively trying to kick in your front door in a tumultuous manner. In most places, you're going to be justified in using deadly force. What if you're in your living room? Most of us spend the majority of our time in our kitchen, living room, and bedroom. So having a firearm there and being ready is a great idea, but that would require, if you access that firearm, you're in your living room, more than likely, hopefully you got some furniture in there. You got a coffee table, love seat, couch, ottomans, recliners, all that kind of stuff. Awareness is key so that we can be aware of what's going on around us and negotiate and move around those things while still being able to be focused on the most important thing at that time, and that's the bad guy. Last benefit that I've really found with these red dots that I think are worth mentioning is faster target acquisition. Now, what that means is that when you present your pistol, you're able to see your sights sooner. If you can see your sights sooner, you can get off an accurate shot sooner. Now, let's talk about iron sights and trying to pick up on those quickly. Iron sights require you to do more steps in order to align them with themselves and then align them with the target. So you can be fast, absolutely, with iron sights, under 1 second from the holster all day. People have been doing it forever. But with a red dot, because it requires you to do less work, the brain has to do less processes, everything should happen faster. Now here's the caveat with a red dot. Your draw stroke has to be much more refined, meaning your draw stroke, for the most part, you consistently get the gun in the exact same spot every single time when you present the gun. If you are not consistently getting the gun to intersect with your line of sight consistently every time, you're not going to find that dot. So if you're having problems with finding the red dot in general, you're not going to reap the benefit of faster target acquisition. So, but if you're somebody who's trained, you spend a little bit of time with this, it doesn't take too long, you can really take advantage of that. So not only is it faster target acquisition, but that also translates when we're talking about multiple target engagement. When you're thinking about a situation where your life might be on the line and you might have to use a firearm to defend yourself, there's a really good chance that there's going to be multiple attackers. So being that I have a sighting system that's easier to use and I'm able to pick up on it sooner, I'm not only able to pick up on it sooner for that first person that I'm having to engage, but also when I transition to the next person and the next person, I'm able to reacquire that sight a lot sooner, meaning I can get, combat effective rounds in that person a lot sooner. This is a big deal. And that last point segues us into the next. And there are some cons that are associated with this, but I will go ahead and put you at ease now. There's way more benefits. But here's the biggest thing that I found, and one of the biggest reasons that keep people from transitioning to a red dot or trying a red dot in general, there is a learning curve. And here's what I mean specifically about that learning curve. You have to have a very good draw stroke, meaning if you're coming out and you're drawing, whether you're outside of the waistband or inside of the waistband, You have to be consistent, meaning this pistol, in order to pick up on this red dot consistently, you have to be able to put that pistol in the exact same spot in front of your face so that the red dot intersects with your line of sight. That has to happen. And that is the #1 reason why when people put a red dot on their gun, they go to try to acquire it, they have such, when I say big issues, huge. And the #1 reason for that is because their draw stroke just isn't good. When I encounter students that already have an incredible, a really good draw stroke with iron sights, transitioning to a red dot is actually fairly easy. It is a very minor adjustment. And what's wonderful about the subconscious part of the brain is that it's very good at understanding small variations of something it's already mastered. So if you're already good on your irons, transition to your red dot, you're not really going to have any problems. If you're somebody who's having problems now with your red dot, or you haven't really been practicing and you struggle with irons already, and a red dot is not going to help you. It is not a magic device, okay? So make sure your draw stroke is good to go. The next con about red dots are the batteries, okay? They're runoff batteries, so obviously they can fail because they're electronic. Well, what's cool about it is a couple ways that I get around this. One, I really only like using red dot manufacturers that have a claimed battery life of around 50,000 hours. I think that's close to 5 years or something. I used to know the exact number, I forgot now. But 50,000 hours is a long damn time, okay? So I would definitely make sure that the red dot you're looking at has a claimed battery life of at least that. But the other thing too, to help you get around that and give you a little bit more confidence with this con, is that every day before you leave the house, especially if you have a firearm that you're carrying every single day, or you have an off body, or you put in a car or whatever it is, before you leave, it is a very, very good idea to just check the condition of your firearm. So what I would do is I'll pull it out of the holster. I might be at my mantle or my nightstand. I pull it out of the holster. First thing I'm gonna do is drop the magazine, make sure that I have rounds in the mag, reinsert it. I'm gonna do a press check and make sure that I have a round inside of the chamber. Next, I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna make sure that I see my red dot. Is the red dot on? Does it look dim? Is it blinking, telling me the battery is dead? Or is it just not on at all? Is the battery dead? Also too, are my lenses, is the glass clean? All those types of things. Also, the last thing I'll usually check is my flashlight. Does it still function? And I do that right before I leave the house, and that literally takes like 20 seconds. And doing that every day will give you like that confidence that you need to know, yeah, everything, my gun is in working order and it's ready to go. My red dot is in working order and it's ready to go, and my flashlight. Highly, highly recommend that. Last thing that I'll say to help you get around with the battery stuff, set a reminder in your phone. I have one set for the day after my birthday that tells me, change your damn battery, stupid. There you go. It don't really say that, but might be funny. I think 2 of you laughed. Anyway, so that's how you get around that. It does run off a battery. I wouldn't really worry about a whole lot, especially when you're talking about companies like Holosun that have this solar feature about them as well. So there's plenty of ways now to not really have to worry about the battery. So that's what we have when we're talking about red dots. These are the meat and potatoes, if you will, that you need to know. So that when you're looking at one online, or you're actively at the store and you're looking at it on the counter and you're seriously considering spending that kind of money, you got a little bit of knowledge behind you and you might even know what you're talking about. Hopefully this video helped you. If you have any questions about anything, please put them in the comments below. We love you. Peace.